Sure, the Chicago Bears could have phoned it in and waved the white flag and taken another loss to the Green Bay Packers to secure maybe a top 5 pick in the NFL draft. But it was way more important that the Bears get the divisional win, end the losing streak, and finish Caleb Williams' rookie season with a win to build off of for 2025.
You are Locked On Bears, your daily Chicago Bears podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
This is Locked On Bears, and I'm your host, Lauren Cox. I'm here to bring you your daily, in-depth Chicago Bears news and analysis. You can follow me on Twitter at CoxSports1, and you can follow the podcast at Locked On Bears on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and the Locked On Bears YouTube channel to keep up with all of our daily in-depth Chicago Bears news and analysis. Hit that subscribe button to keep up with all our video podcasts as well. Thanks for making Locked On Bears your first listen today. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonnfl. Terms and conditions apply. On the show today, a Chicago Bears Victory Monday for the first time since October. We got to talk about a big Bears win over the Green Bay Packers and how important this win is, not only for the team, but for Caleb Williams to end the season like this on this note, instead of continuing to crash and burn and keep the losing streak lingering throughout the entirety of the offseason. I also want to look at, more specifically, what was different in this game. Some of the things the Bears did that was improvement and progress, and how you execute a win here, not just an amazing drive with less than a minute left, but in the lead up to that, having a lead for most of the game, playing better in this game. How were they able to do it? There's a few different areas we can point to where there was some real progress there. And then I kind of want to take stock on, the job Thomas Brown and this interim coaching staff has done, because he's going to get an interview for the next head coaching gig. He's not going to get the job though, but we can kind of take a look at it and say, man, the one thing you got to give him credit for, plenty to criticize for, but credit, the team didn't quit. They could have quit against the Packers. They could have come out super flat. They could have given up a number of times within this game, and they didn't. And there's some real credit to be had there. But this win is way more important than what you might think of a meaningless Week 18 game. Yeah, okay, to go from 4-12 to 5-12, so you finish the season 5-12 instead of 4-13, obviously doesn't mean much in the grand scheme of things. It takes you from a potential top 5 draft pick to a top 10 draft pick. So, oh no, the Bears moving down 5 slots in the first round, and that's worth something. It's worth quite a bit, actually, in terms of the team building picture long term, because it's 5 spots in every round. But being able to end Caleb Williams' season with this win is more important. For him to have gone through this rookie season on what was a 10-game losing streak and end it there, and not let it get all the way to 11 to get to 4-13 means something. To have this quarterback have to reaffirm that confidence in himself and in his teammates that, hey guys, until the game is over, we can still win it. This game was made more valuable by the losses to the Commanders, the Packers, the Vikings, and the Lions. When we had seen multiple times, dare I say a handful of times even, if I should be so bold as to say a handful of times this season, Caleb Williams drove this Bears team down and put them in a position to either tie or take the lead late in a football game. And the previous 4 times-ish that he has done that this season, the Bears were not able to win. Gave them a lead late against Washington, lose it on the Hail Mary. Had the lead from pretty much the entire game against the Packers the first time, then drive down and go for a game-winning field goal, blocked. You lose that game. Drive down and get the field goal to go to overtime against the Vikings, lose in overtime. And then, of course, against the Lions, blocked again and all sorts of disaster at the end in that game with the timeout and the clock management. There were 4 separate times this season where Caleb Williams did everything in his power to put the team in position to win these games, and yet even that was not enough. And so for him to be able to get the payoff of actually winning this one after not only having the lead for a lot of this game, but then driving them down and putting him in position for a game-winning field goal, and then to actually finish it with the field goal means so much more because of how close they came and lost 4 other times this season. All right, it's not just once they had a bad beat at the end of the game, but to constantly be in that spot where your hopes get up and you believe, as Caleb was, hey, we're going to win this game, guys. Trust me. We're going to win this game. I've got this. You believe in me. I believe in you, and we're going to win this game. And 4 times you don't. That erodes something. It erodes trust. It erodes personal confidence. And feeling like after 4 times of that, you start to doubt a little bit, like, man, can I do this? Like, I keep doing everything I can, and it's still not good enough. Like, man, what's wrong? Like, to be able to then finish it and get that win is everything for Caleb. To get that win in the last game of the season, to go into the offseason saying, yes, that's what winning tastes like again. I remember. That's what finishing that comeback drive feels like. Yes, I've got that in me, and all of my teammates see that I've got that in me and that we can trust each other, that we can win those games in the future. And every head coaching candidate is going to watch Caleb Williams in that game and see, wow, I can win with that quarterback, and I want to have that quarterback, and I want to be the head coach for the team with that quarterback. Like this, that finish to that game means so much more than any other Week 18 game. This is a Bears team that consistently finds ways to lose, and we thought they had found a way to lose with the DJ Moore fumble on that screen. You had the lead, you coughed the ball back up to the Packers, they get the field goal. Oh, shucks, here we go again. 5th time this season. We know what's going to happen next. And yet this time we didn't. This time we were wrong. This time they won. And not just won, but they beat the Green Bay Packers in Lambeau Field. You not only snap your current 10-game losing streak, but you snap, I think it was a 10-game losing streak to the Green Bay Packers and almost a 10-year losing streak at Lambeau Field for the Chicago Bears. Like, yeah, okay, you can say it's a meaningless Week 18 game, and Jordan Love got hurt, and Christian Watson got hurt. I don't care. You beat the Green Bay Packers in Lambeau Field. The Packers were trying to win this game. The Packers had a lead with 1 minute left in this game. That's not a pushover. This is not a preseason exhibition victory here for the Bears. It is a real win over your hated division rival who's been kicking your ass for a decade now. And you found a way to win on a team that could only do the opposite, that only found ways to lose, instead found ways to win. And that means so much. And it means a heck of a lot more than moving a few spots in the NFL draft. You're still going to get a good player if you have the 10th pick. You'd get a good player if you had the 5th pick. You can trade up, you can trade down, whatever. Like, yeah, there's impacts there, but that doesn't matter as much as getting this against the Packers, getting this for Caleb, and just giving you something to carry into the offseason instead of a lingering stench of an ongoing losing streak. Because then, Week 1, it's like, oh, can the Bears end their losing streak? And they've got this losing streak dating back to last season, and they've got this continual losing streak against the Green Bay Packers. Not anymore. If you think about it, if the Bears were a missed field goal in Week 11, a blocked field goal in Week 11 away from sweeping the Green Bay Packers this season, the Bears outscored the Green Bay Packers this season. You know what I mean? Like, that's how close they were to sweeping the Green Bay Packers in a 5-12 season for the Bears. They were literally a fingertip away from sweeping the Green Bay Packers. I'm never going to take that for granted. You just can't. Like, you can't call yourself a Chicago Bears fan if you're like, who cares? Who cares if they almost swept the Green Bay Packers? Who cares that they beat the Green Bay Packers? You should care. I almost never come on this podcast and tell you should care about X, Y, or Z. Like, you do you and live your life. But man, how can you not care about a game like this, a win like this, and a quarterback making a play and a drive like this? That's what's so spectacular about all this. It's the validation, it's the confirmation, and it's the confidence to move ahead in the offseason with high hopes once again. There was more about this game besides just the game-winning drive at the end, though, that was different. The game was ugly, but the Bears were better in some specific areas that mattered a ton, and I don't want to overlook that just because this was a Week 18 game. So we'll kind of look at what was different for this Bears team and how they were able to win a game like this besides the final game-winning drive next on Locked On Bears. This episode of Locked On Bears is brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs. Growing your small business in 2025 comes down to how well you can hire. And let's face it, better hires start with smarter insights. That's where LinkedIn comes in. With the strongest hiring data available, LinkedIn helps you identify the right candidates, giving you the confidence to make the best decisions for your business. I'm a member of LinkedIn, and I certainly think about when the Bears are searching for a head coach. It'd be nice if there was a head coach version of LinkedIn where they could find the best candidates and have the best data when they're trying to decide which coaches to hire. Because in the small business world, owners are wearing a lot of different hats, and every hire is crucial. And that's why LinkedIn connects you with the best candidates using data you won't find anywhere else. With unique skills and interests to the connections you share, LinkedIn helps you find the right person for the job. In fact, 72% of small businesses say LinkedIn has helped them find high-quality candidates. So hire smarter this year and find your next great hire on LinkedIn. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. The Locked On Bears podcast is also brought to you by Rocket Money. Rocket Money is a budgeting app that is super helpful for staying on top of your finances and also keeping tabs on some of those subscriptions that you don't even remember that you're paying for, but all of a sudden it comes out of your checking account every month and you don't even realize you're paying for it, don't even realize you're using it. I had a few of those that I didn't realize I was paying for, and the Rocket Money app made it super easy to track them all down. It's kind of like having a personal assistant for your finances. It monitors your spending and helps you lower your bills so you can grow your savings. And it brings everything together in one place. I connect my bank account and my credit card there, so whether it's my subscriptions or my spending habits or just my savings goals, Rocket Money has it all in one place for me. They've helped users save a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions. They have over 5 million users. So cancel those unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/lockedon. That's ROCKETMONEY.com/lockedon. rocketmoney.com/lockedon. The Bears won this game on Caleb Williams' game-winning field goal scoring drive, where he put them down in position, spiked the ball, got the field goal team out. That's how the Bears won this game. But you're only in that position because you led for the majority of the game, and obviously, I guess the DJ Moore fumble puts the Packers back on board. But this game was about the final minute, but you don't get into that final minute without the first 3.5 quarters, right? Without taking a lead earlier in this game, without staying ahead of the Green Bay Packers and being able to, carry that lead down to the 2-minute warning and blow it at the end and then undo the DJ Moore fumble. And I think there were a number of things across this game that the Bears did better that are worth noticing. Like, what was different about this game? Why did the Bears all of a sudden play so much better? And yes, again, it's easy to say, well, Malik Willis came in for Jordan Love, but they were playing better when Jordan Love was out there too. It wasn't just the quarterback injury. Malik Willis has played very well for the Green Bay Packers this season. I keep joking about wanting to start like a Russian disinformation campaign to try and sow seeds of unrest among Packers fans by going on social media and talking about how much better Malik Willis is than Jordan Love and trying to convince Packers fans that this offseason they should have a quarterback controversy because, when Malik Willis is in there, in games he started, they were undefeated this season. And, he got the offense. He drove down and gave them a game-winning go-ahead field goal drive at the end of this game. He's got no interceptions this season, I don't believe. He's taking care of the ball. He's played well. I mean, it's obviously a joke, but I want to get Packers fans uneasy about that by planting misinformation in Packers social media worlds to try and stir up a controversy this offseason. I think that would be fun. But nonetheless, Malik Willis did play well and gave them the lead. Jordan Love didn't give them the lead. Malik Willis did in this game. There was a lot of that back and forth. And I think a few different things then stand out about what the Bears were able to do against a Packers team that is going to the playoffs. You know what I mean? This was against a playoff team that was trying to win this game. They were injured, but they were trying to win this game. And I think a few things stood out. First of all, Caleb Williams was only sacked one time in this game. He was running for his life a lot. He was flushed out of the pocket a lot. He threw it away a lot instead of taking more sacks. He was sacked once in this game. That's the fewest times he'd been sacked in a game since the Carolina Panthers game back in, I think it was week 5 or week 6, before the bye week. One of the last Bears wins. Across the entire losing streak, he'd been sacked at least twice in every single game. This game, though, only once. And you'll notice that wasn't because the Bears' offensive line played better, because he was fighting for his life. He was getting throwing around out there and taking a bunch of hits after plays and having to throw it away quite a bit. But one sack limited a lot of the negative plays that would bring this offense back. The Bears still had too many penalties, that for sure. I think it was 7 penalties for 45 yards. There were still penalty plays that held them back, and by no means was this a great offensive performance overall. But the fact that they were able that Caleb himself was able to take fewer bad sacks in this game signaled a lot of growth and progress from him, and then helped the offense also, finish those drives with points after the defense gave them turnovers, right? Not just punting it away or even settling for field goals, but getting a couple of touchdowns in this game instead of field goals made a really big difference there. I suppose we shouldn't wait any longer before we mention the punt return touchdown, obviously a difference maker in this game. An homage to Johnny Knox with one returner pretending to catch it while the real returner catches it on the other side of the field and no one is following him, and Josh Blackwell runs all the way to the end zone. That's a huge difference maker in this game. A one-possession game, Bears win it by 2. Well, a punt return touchdown has certainly got them ahead and kept them ahead and allowed them to not be playing from behind. They could stick with the running game for a while, which is another aspect of this that I want to give them credit for. They did not run the ball well. DeAndre Swift had 3.3 yards per carry. He had a nice touchdown in there, but 3.3 yards per carry is not great. But think about the run-pass ratio here. The Bears handed it off 26 times and threw it 30. That's more balanced than we've seen in a lot of games this season. 20 handoffs to DeAndre Swift is more than we've seen him have in quite some time. I'm actually going to double-check that right now as I'm talking to you, his game logs. But 20 carries in this game is the most he's had since the Carolina Panthers game in Week 5. Funny enough, the game that Caleb Williams was sacked the fewest times. Also the last time that DeAndre Swift had over 20 carries. It's amazing what sticking to the running game can do to help an offense stay ahead of the sticks. Even when you're only getting 3 yards each time, a 3-yard gain is better than 0 yards on an incomplete pass or negative yards on a sack. And there were some negative runs from DeAndre Swift. I get it, but there's a value to sticking with that. Even if it's not quote unquote working, it's at least not hurting when you're moving the ball forward there, and being able to then punch it in the end zone also makes a big difference there. But that to me was huge. And I think that's why I think sticking to the running game leads us to the next point here. The Bears were a lot better on third downs. They converted third downs at a 50% clip in this game. They were 7 of 14 on third downs. I think that's because you stick to the running game and you don't have 3rd and 10, 3rd and 12, 3rd and 14. You have 3rd and 4, 3rd and 6, which is not easy, but it sure is a heck of a lot more manageable there. So you don't give up a lot of sacks. You do a lot better on third down. You stick with the running game there. Your pass rush made Jordan Love and Malik Willis uncomfortable quite a bit in this game. That was a big difference. You started generating some turnovers again. A peanut punch by Jalen Johnson certainly went a long way. A strip sack by Kevin Byard where he lit up Jordan Love, or was it Malik Willis? He lit up Malik Willis and the ball popped out. The first one led directly to a Bears touchdown. The other one didn't, but it was part of the field position game and helped keep the Packers from scoring on those drives. It's absolutely huge for this defense to come in and make those plays. And then perhaps most importantly, down the stretch, the Bears got back to understanding clock management. Under a minute to go, they used the timeout when they needed to. There were a couple of times when play clock was running down and they were cutting it close, but then, they're able to get up and clock the ball at the very end. They didn't absolutely blow it from a clock management standpoint. And that's progress as well. A lot of different areas of progress in this game. And it's a strong finish for Thomas Brown and this Bears interim coaching staff. Not enough to say, yes, give them the job. No, we're not going that far. But I do think we should take a minute and recognize how difficult of a task it was for Thomas Brown to be thrown in this team when he did. And despite how poorly things generally went, he deserves some small amount of credit for how things finished here and what he was able to accomplish in spite of everything against him here. So we'll kind of look at the job Thomas Brown did and this coaching staff as a whole, trying to pick up the pieces after Matt Eberflus was fired. Next on Locked On Bears. This episode of Locked On Bears is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. From big upsets to game-winning drives, the NFL playoffs are better with FanDuel. Even though your Bears won't be playing in it, you can still get in on all the action with America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed with your first $5 bet. Whether that $5 bet wins or lose, you place a $5 bet on any of these playoff teams or any of your other favorite sports, basketball, college sports, hockey, soccer, tennis, boxing, you name it, a $5 bet. Either way, win or lose on that first bet, you're getting $200 in bonus bets. And the FanDuel app gives you everything you need for live bets, same game parlays, and so much more. There's plenty of different ways you can win at FanDuel, and you don't even have to win to get your bonus bets. All you got to do is play those $5. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today and get started with $200 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com. Make this playoff season unforgettable with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Thomas Brown and this Bears coaching staff were put in a very difficult position taking over after firing Matt Eberflus following the Thanksgiving game. And I'm not here to say they did some great job and deserve all of this praise and should be hired as a head coach again right away or something. And certainly I don't think the Bears should hire Thomas Brown as their next head coach. But it does say something about him and this staff that they were able to win this last game against the Green Bay Packers. Just like we talked about how important it is for Caleb Williams, I think the same is true for Thomas Brown here because, this team very easily could have and maybe should have quit, right? They lost 10 games in a row. They hadn't won a game since October 13th in London against the Jacksonville Jaguars. There wasn't a lot of reason for this team to be fired up and play the Green Bay Packers, let alone beat the Green Bay Packers. The Bears were almost double-digit underdogs on FanDuel Sportsbook. I think it was like 9.5 points is where it ended up closing as an underdog here. No one thought the Bears would win this game. I don't think any of us thought the Bears would win this game, and they did. And yes, it was an individual effort by Caleb Williams, but it could have been a lot of other guys quitting. Could have been receivers. Why do I got to run this route very hard? Why do I got to work hard after the catch? Defensively, do we got to tackle him? Do I have to hustle after this play? Do we really want to get after the quarterback here, or can we just? I'm cold. Can we just kind of play patty cake at the line of scrimmage and get on with it? Okay, you guys get your 3-touchdown lead, and then let's all pack it in and go home. Could have easily done that. And for a little while, we thought that's where it was trending, right? They get beat up on by the 49ers, beat up on by the Vikings, and then eventually beat up on by the Detroit Lions, and it's like, all right, this isn't going anywhere. We're wasting time. These games aren't even worth watching at this point. What the heck? This is dumb. And they didn't. They didn't fully quit. I mean, yeah, you can find some guys, and we might talk about one or two of them here, that still weren't giving great effort out there, but other guys were. I mean, Tyreek Stevenson made mistakes in this game, certainly, on one of the big rushing plays, but like a lot of good effort in this game. Energy, effort, hustle, intensity. Wants to be out there, wants to play, wants to win. Jalen Johnson, giving Packers fans the finger on the way back to the locker room after getting injured. He cares. These guys, a lot of these guys still cared. They wanted to play hard. They wanted to win. This game mattered to them. And I think a lot of that credit goes to the coaching staff to get players to still believe in each other and believe in playing hard and wanting to put it all out there for their teammates, for their team, and for this rivalry here. And I think even if you want to get a little bit more into specifics in the game, right? The Bears offensive line struggled from the get-go, right? We knew this was a bad offensive line all year, but in this game in particular, the first drive, they go backwards. And they were having trouble blocking just about anything on the offensive line. And so Thomas Brown, I give him credit for recognizing, okay, this offensive line thing today, not working so well. We should probably do something different. And so he calls 1,000 wide receiver screens. And probably not the right number of wide receiver screens, but I appreciate that was a way of trying to mitigate some of the offensive line issues. I looked it up. PFF charted them with, I think it ended up being eight screens in this game, which doesn't sound like that many, but I think the better way to think about it is 25% of Caleb Williams' passes in this game were screens. 1/4, every fourth pass was a screen pass in this game. That feels a little bit more like, yeah, okay, that's the ratio that sounds more accurate to what the eye test tells us. It was too much. There were too many screens, and I think there were more things and different things Thomas Brown could have done to help out a bad offensive line in terms of moving the pocket, rollouts, not even necessarily play action rollouts where your quarterback can be hung out to dry, but just speed out. Just move the quarterback away from the pocket, move him away from the pass rushers right away, and cuts the field in half, et cetera, et cetera. The read option, there's some different things you could do, RPOs, to try and mitigate some of the offensive line issues. So I'm not here to say what Thomas Brown did was the perfect, great, right thing to do. But I would rather throw too many screen passes than sit back there and let Caleb Williams get sacked 7 times because the offensive line still can't block for him. Like, I'm glad he tried some different stuff. That's something there. I also mentioned earlier, like, they stuck to the running game for 20 carries to DeAndre Swift, plus a couple other, Caleb Williams carried and Roschon Johnson, et cetera. Like, they stuck with the running game here. It's a bare minimum thing, but that's where we are right now with this Bears offense, right? Like, even doing simple, basic stuff, we've been asking for it for weeks. So I'm going to give him credit when he finally does it, even if it's not impressive to say, yeah, okay, he stuck with the running game. Shouldn't every offensive coordinator do that? Yes, but the Bears hadn't, and so we'll appreciate it when they do it. And then, again, in a similar vein, like the wide receiver pass for Keenan Allen. Terrible, right? Like, I mean, that play can't go worse. An interception is the worst way that play can go. I'm not saying like, wow, what a great play call there. But at least he's trying something different. Like, again, a way to help your offensive line, confuse the defense because it looks like a wide receiver reverse. So the defensive linemen are like, am I defending the run? Am I pass rushing here? It gives the offensive line some more time there. Keenan Allen had all day to throw and still made a terrible, terrible decision. And I don't love the play call, but he tried a trick play. He said, hey, it's week 18. Let's empty the bag. Let's be aggressive. That's supposed to be a downfield shot play. Trying to go big there. I appreciate him trying to go big there. Again, didn't work and maybe wasn't the way to go big, but it's the thought, right? It's the intent. Same thing with the screens. Like, not the right way to do it, but I appreciated the intent of trying to go there. And just like the way he's coached Caleb Williams hard. He's been harsh on him and he's been intent with him and talks about like conflict and pushing him. And like, they were way too soft under Matt Eberflus. So Thomas Brown's saying, all right, let's do it then. I'm going to hold you to a super high standard. And Caleb needs that. Like, I think that was valuable for Caleb. And you could even point to like special teams coordinator Richard Hightower. He was somebody who I think we were all ready to fire after the first blocked field goal, but then the second blocked field goal was like, all right, figure your stuff out here, sir. Like, what are we doing here? And to his credit, they seem to have corrected the field goal blocking issue because this game-winning field goal wasn't blocked. It went in. Like, I'll give Tim Hightower credit. Richard Hightower. Tim Hightower was the former running back. Richard Hightower is the special teams coordinator. I always mix them up in my head. It sounds like a bare minimum thing. Don't have your field goals get blocked. But when the Bears were below the bare minimum, I can give them credit for getting up to the minimum, right? And then you add in the punt return. That's good special teams coaching. They practiced that. They recognized that the Packers might be vulnerable to that. And then they actually executed it. They blocked it. There wasn't a phantom penalty like the Johnny Knox version that undid the play. Like, they executed it. And Tyler Scott had a pretty long kickoff return in this game too, if I am not mistaken. Like, it wasn't a touchdown, but he got it 36 yards, I believe, to the 45-yard line, gave them some good field position. They didn't end that drive with points, but nonetheless, like, special teams got better. And honestly, this defense got better too. Like, I mean, they were great and then they got bad, but then they got better again. And maybe that's not that impressive, but when the bar is literally on the floor or in the basement, like, remember, this defense gave up 38 to San Francisco, 30 to Minnesota, and 34 to the Lions. And we're like, all right, defense quit. Defense gave up. They're not really trying that hard anymore. But then they only give up 6 to the Seahawks, and they hold the Packers to 22 and get a couple turnovers again. Like, Eric Washington struggled for the first 3 or 4 weeks, and I was very, very critical of Eric Washington because I don't think he was doing a very good job. The defense got better. They got worse, but then they got better. And like, the coaching staff deserves whatever amount of credit that is. It's not zero. It's small, but we've been holding on and looking for anything small to hold on to for weeks now. So it's a win. We'll take it, and we'll be excited about the ways that the team got better, and it just gives you a little bit more hope for 2025, right? Not that, everything's fixed and the team is going to be fine, but the difference between a 11-game losing streak and, hey, they beat the Packers, and some of those players played well again. Jalen Johnson played well. Caleb Williams played well. Swift played better. DJ Moore played better, minus a fumble in there. Like, Montez Sweat was getting a lot of pressure on the quarterback. Like, oh, okay. Like, yeah, they remind you there's some stuff still on this team. There's something to build off of here, as long as you get that next coach right. And that's going to be where the Locked On Bears podcast turns our attention from here. It's going to be coaching search for the next few weeks here on the podcast until the Bears make that coaching hire. Any and all updates and interviews and all that stuff, we'll break it down for you right here on the podcast. So make sure you hit the subscribe button on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. That's going to be the best way to keep up with all of our daily, in-depth Chicago Bears news and analysis. Thanks for making Locked On Bears your first listen today. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Really appreciate you being a part of our first listener group. If you're looking for a second listen, don't forget the Locked On NFL podcast. We'll cover the NFL from a full league-wide perspective. So all the playoffs action, if you want to keep up, instead of having to listen to each Locked On podcast for each playoff team, you can get it all twice a day on Locked On NFL with Tyler Rowland in the morning and Tony Wiggins in the afternoon. You can hear me with Tyler on Tuesday mornings on Locked On NFL. But then, of course, Locked On Bears will still be here for you each and every weekday morning, even throughout the offseason, for your next opportunity to bear down.